Welcome, Fresh Baked, to our side-by-side comparison of Pirates of the Caribbean before and after the changes revealed this past Friday. Of course, everyone knows about the Redhead and even Hank the Octopus by now, but did you know that there are many other changes, most of which are pretty subtle, but some not so much? So we're going to take a look at those changes, subtle or otherwise. The video on the top right was shot on Friday, and the video on the bottom left was shot the weekend before the attraction closed for these changes. So they're about as close as they're going to get in terms of, before and after. I should also note that both were shot with the same camera, with the same settings, so any lighting differences we may notice will not be on the camera, but are practical changes made on the attraction. And having said that, many of the changes that we do see will be with lighting. And we'll take that into consideration as we cruise down the bayou on our way to find the not playing banjo pirate, I guess, over here on the left. We'll get there in a second. And that actually will be one of the first instances we'll see where they have lit him just slightly darker than he used to be, which I'm not crazy about. I would have preferred more lighting. And also, the Skull and Crossbones pirate that greets us as we're about to drop, which we're going to get to right here, you can see already right off the bat that they've lit this thing quite differently than we're used to, or at least recently. There was a very bright light on that Skull and Crossbones before, and now it is a very subdued. I guess I don't know what other word to use there. It's not as colorful, and it's not as well lit overall. It is shrouded in darkness, almost to the point where I had a hard time picking it up with the camera, which we'll notice here as we drop down, I guess. And this will take us to the first drop. And again, I think that in the new scenes we're getting a little more light in this first cave than we were before, a little more blue, which I prefer. I like more light than less in most cases, in any dark ride for that matter. So we're going to see me pleased by some of these changes and some not, because they have taken light in other areas. We'll take it now to the second drop as we approach the island, the beach. And as we round the corner, pay close attention to the nearest pirate to you. You will see, as a matter of fact, let's stop here. And you can see he's laying on what at first I thought was a black and white striped beach blanket. But it's not a beach blanket. It is actually the Skull and Crossbones flag that he's laying on. He is now on top of it. Now, it was there before. It's hard to see in this image in the lower left, but it was there before. It was simply kind of like crumpled up and laying off to the side to his left, and it was more faded. So they've sort of opened that flag up and laid him on top of that flag, and we'll continue. And you can see the new scene is not as well lit as before. It's not as brightly lit. And we'll reach the pirate navigating the seas, and difficult shot to compare because it's not lit at all in most cases. So I just grabbed a frame where they were lit at the same time, and I couldn't tell any differences here. So if there are any, it's difficult to observe. But as we continue, we'll see that there's a heck of a lot going on new at the scene where we have the painting of the Redhead pirate and the pirates playing chess, and the famous scene, images of the pirates drinking in their skeleton form. And we'll pause because first things first, I don't know if this is a permanent condition, but you can no longer see the pirates playing chess. They have completely taken away the lighting. They're there. The pirates are still there. You just can't see them because they've taken the light away from them. I don't know if that's because they want to move focus to the two pirates on the bar drinking, and that very likely could be the case. But I always enjoyed the game. What do they call that? The infinite chess game. So I'm not sure why they did that. I think I would have preferred keeping light there as well. But the light does indicate. I mean, we can see. In fact, we can zoom in a little bit. A couple differences. First things first is that pirate has a right leg where he did not before. Now, I will say that leg is supposed to be there. I went back a couple videos and looked at different iterations, and maybe it is there. You just can't see it. I'm not sure. But I've looked in really close, and I can't find any leg, but you could definitely see the leg there now. And as a matter of fact, his boot is more pronounced, too. It has more color, more vibrancy than it did before as well. I will say also that he was always supposed to have a leg. If you look at the concept art from Mark Davis, where this scene draws direct inspiration, the leg, was there. So I just thought that was kind of a curious addition or change that they made. Maybe a fix. I'm not sure what the proper term is here. We'd have to go back pretty far, I think, to see when that. Maybe it's been a long time. I don't know, but when did that leg disappear? I can't say. One other thing I noticed, which obviously is not a change per se to this new version of Pirates, is that the painting of the Redhead has been obscured. It's been covered for a while. I went back again a few ride-throughs, and it's been a while since that painting was visible. You can see there's a blackness. I don't know if it's covered with some kind of tarp or a blanket or what. I don't know, but you cannot see the painting before, and you can see it now. But we all know that painting was always there. So I'm not sure at what point they removed the painting, or if they decided to obscure it, and then it has been brought back since then. And we'll continue and swing around to the captain's quarters. And right off the bat, we're going to pause here because look at the differences in the light here, before and after. Before, the foreground was not very well lit, very much like the Infinite Chess game with the two pirates before. The foreground was not lit to the point where we can see now. And again, I don't know, I can't remember to my own recollection if that sign that says Captain's Quarters was always there or not. Certainly the glasses and stuff that you see in the foreground were there, because as we pass by, we can see their silhouettes. But I don't remember if the sign was there and you just couldn't read it through the lens, when you on video. But if you could see it with the naked eye, I can't recall. But obviously, it is much more well lit in the foreground than it used to be. Other than that, there's not a lot to see. There are changes. As a matter of fact, there are minor set changes that you can compare before and after that are pretty telling. But we'll get to something like that more in the next room. But I would like to pause here again to show you just an example. Now, this is kind of a close-up. The before image, I had zoomed the camera in a little bit. The current image is standard focus, but they've moved some parts around there on that table that's in the foreground. You can see that there's a chest and some books and candles, etc., that have been kind of moved around in a little bit. Again, we're going to see more of that here in just a minute when we get to the next scene in the treasure room, where we've got a pirate sitting on top of the boot, as it were. Now again, look here. This is a different. It's just amazing the differences in the lighting. In the before image, bathed in blue light, which to me, I really enjoy that quite a bit. I love the blue lighting effects on any attraction. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. But in the new version, they've taken almost all of that light away. Really, you can see some of that blue light in the top right corner, but that's as you make the turn. But all the light has been taken from the first half of the treasure room. And as we curl around, you can see there's quite a lot to talk about here, and I certainly can't get to it all because it would take forever, because there's just too much to note. But a couple things. In the before image, I was trying to compare the pirate sitting on top of the treasure. It looked like his face was obscured. Maybe his hat was pulled down. I'm not sure. But you couldn't see his face at all, both in the, as you first enter the room and now as you've made the turn around. You couldn't see the skull at all, really. But today, in the new image, we can see his skull pretty well clearly. We can see his face, as it were. And I think this is nothing more than maybe the skull had maybe lost its, it had tilted down a bit, or the hat had tilted down. Because if you look at the images, if you just pull up any, Google search for an image of Pirates of the Caribbean and for this room, you can see that is how it's supposed to look before. So whatever it was that we saw a few months ago on Pirates, that was, an error. That was something that they're trying to fix, not necessarily change, but it's a fix to something that should have always been the case. And then as we continue here just for a minute long, I want to get a better view of all the loot that's in the foreground. Just pick any item that you can see. The candelabra, the chest, I don't know, you could pick anything, and you can see there's a crown. Whatever it was that was there in the before frame has moved, not tremendously so that you'd notice it with the naked eye as you go by. I don't think anybody would. They would say, oh my gosh, they've moved the candelabra, but sure enough, they have. It's not where it used to be. Nothing is where it used to be, but also everything is the same, if you catch my drift, which is an interesting choice. And I suppose this is something that they do regularly on these attractions. And again, I wouldn't call this a change for change's sake. It's just something that they do. They do the same thing at Haunted Mansion. They move the plates around. They move the hidden Mickey plates, for example, often. So that's not uncommon for them to do that. And we'll continue as we get down to this dark cave. And obviously, this is one of the major changes that people are talking about. They've removed the Davy Jones mist scene, which almost everyone agrees is a good thing. And they restored the old audio from 15 years ago. In addition, because it used to be just pirates talking, the dead men tell no tale speech. They've brought that back. That is the original video, the original audio. But they've also brought in this guy, this new pirate. But they brought him in, and there's a really cool effect that we're going to stop now and show you if you want. Otherwise, you can forward just a bit. If you don't want to have the effect spoiled for you, skip this part. But what you see is the pirate changing from a skeleton to a human form. And if we go frame by frame, you'll see that a lot of people are suggesting that it's a mirror. But if you go frame by frame, it's even more simple than that. It is literally the head is half skeleton and half human. Right down the middle, they have bisected the pirate's head, and they're using the chain as a separator. So it acts as sort of once you cross as you face the pirate, once you cross the chain that's right in front of his face, you'll see the change happen. If we go frame by frame, and we'll stop right here, you can see at the on the right, the head's starting to change a little bit before we get to the chain, and then you see right down the middle as we get there. You can see the head start to change a little bit. I don't think that's a mirror. I think that is just a 50-50. That is a pirate skull on the left and a human head on the right. If it isn't, tell me how that works. But I feel like that chain down the middle is what allows them to pull this off, because it changes the focus. If you look right there, right down the middle, you can see it's a 50-50. And then if we go past a little bit, past the chain, you can see a little bit of the skull on the left and all human head on the right. And of course, there's Hank down there. He's dangling some. My focus was on the pirate, so I didn't really get a good look at Hank. But he's got some jewels in his tentacles that he seems to be admiring, which is quite funny. And now we'll move forward a little bit to the battle scene with Barbosa. Look on the mast to Barbosa's left, and you'll notice his shadow being cast on the ship mast to his left. I don't know. I guess it's a little addition. It does require them to change the way that the boat is lit, which again I think I still would prefer the boat lit as opposed to having a shadow of Barbosa. But I mean, it's fun. Speaking of shadows, the two shadows fighting are about the same as they were before, which we'll get to in just a sec. And we'll jump forward again to the mayor scene, the mayor getting drowned in the well. No changes at all, as far as I could tell, to this scene. I examined it pretty closely. You know, it looks to be lit about the same. Characters look the same. The actions and the dialogue have not changed. And I want to say it's because they don't want to change too much in this section, because just as you turn left from here, you enter the all-important change to the auctioneer scene with the redhead. And there she is off in the distance, and we're going to pause here to make a couple observations. The first thing we'll notice is a lighting change. In the before image, we can see a very kind of yellowish-orange hue to the lighting, and now it has become more of a blue-green tint. I don't know what the purpose of this. I think it might be to bring out the red in the new redhead, to kind of sort of to let her stand out more. It does sort of wash out the yellow and the orange lighting on the redhead in the before image. As we move closer to the redhead, we won't talk about the dialogue, which is obviously different. That's been well covered. But we'll stop here again to observe a couple more things. The characters have changed. It's no longer, a string of women on a rope being sent off to auction with the redhead at the front, and then the other lady up there with the auctioneer. It is now some elderly folk having to carry their own belongings. You can see a grandfather clock and some paintings. These are all things that they've had looted, I suppose, and they're being sold at auction. And they're being made to carry them themselves. It's quite piratey of them. But so they've now got 4 people there with the redhead instead of the 3 other auction ladies, and they've taken away that pirate right there. I suppose, as we move forward again, more barrels of rum, more chickens, and you can still see that blue-green lighting. And we'll stop again right here to observe what looks to be they've lost the one pirate there between the redhead and the other women off for auction, and they've replaced him with another pirate. I don't know if that's a pirate or somebody who actually. There's a cantina now, where the banner used to read "Auction, take a wench for a bride." Now it is a cantina, a la cantina, and that I suppose is the cook. I don't know if he's a pirate cook or if he lives on the island with these other people who are being, robbed by the pirates. But that's because those changes are made there. But again, yeah, more barrels, more chickens, and the bluish green lighting effects. I'll say this. In terms of commentary, I don't want to get into the changes with the redhead. That's for another video. But I like the way this scene looks better to the eye in terms of, again, the set dressing and the lighting effects. This is better in my opinion. This looks nicer, more pleasing, and not as harsh to my eye. And we'll continue as we finish passing by the auctioneer and the redhead, finishing off his speech. Which really, it's not his speech anymore, is it? It's her speech now. And we'll move to the next room with the pillaging and the plundering going on. Almost identical, this scene, to before. But there is one change that you'll note, and this would require frame-by-frame analysis, I think, like I had to do. The chest by what I'm going to call him the pooped pirate. I don't know what his name is now, but he's the guy who used to be the pooped pirate. The chest to his lower right that holds the map used to be closed with the map in it. You can see the map sticking out. Now it is open, and you can see the red felt lining the opened chest that the map is in. Other than that, this looks identical to me. So we'll continue. No changes made to the women chasing the men. No retrofitting there. Some people were probably hoping for that, but no changes to that as far as I can tell. Rolling pin and brooms still in it. No changes to that pirate. And no changes really to this scene at all. Well, there is one change, but they did fix something. The gang is all here. We have the mule and the 3 singers and the dog. You'll see in the before image that the dog was missing. And prior to that, one of the singing pirates was missing as well, but they were just under repair. But the gang's all here, and then as we continue, the only real change to this scene is the pirate holding a torch behind the pirate with the hats. His torch has been amplified, I guess is the word. It's a little more red. It's a little more LED-ish. It's bright. It's not quite as real or natural looking than it used to be. You can see that red light from a distance, which is, I don't know if that's good or not, but it's certainly more. I don't know why they chose to do that, but they did. They gave him a much more vibrant, glowy torch than before. Yeah, no changes here. Just the gay pirate and the pirate hanging his leg over are about the same. Moving on to the jail scene. Again, they did not touch this, and thankfully so, because this is iconic, obviously. So no changes to the dialogue, no changes to the pirates, or anything of that sort here. I think that would have been disastrous if they had done that. Even, I don't know if it more so or less so than changes with the Redhead. I'm not sure, but it would have been disastrous. Now this one was hard to sync up, so I just kind of did the best I could with what I had. Because it doesn't really matter, because they didn't change anything here. So these pirates, having this shootout, this drunken shootout at the end, is unchanged. So we did as much as we could here to show that, but nothing to see as we make our way up the hill. And there is one thing to note here, and it's a lack of a change than anything else. For some reason, they chose not to fix the fact that Jack Sparrow is cross-eyed. Some people notice, some people don't. I don't know, but they could have easily fixed his eyes here, and they didn't. But you can see that he is in fact cross-eyed a little bit, which is strange. So there you go, guys. That's before and after Pirates of the Caribbean. Let us know if we missed anything, and thanks for watching. Fresh Baked. We've got lots more videos for you to see, so grab a churro and check out some of our other videos and have your mind blown by how much fun we're having. We truly are the best of Disney Bake Fresh Daily. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time. Fresh Baked!